Welcome back to the Filipino FM channel. Today we are putting the 11 best free agents, the best free agent at each position, into one team to see how they would do in the English Premier Division. After putting them all into one team, we are going to simulate forward one season and see how a team of free agents would do. And this is what our team looks like when playing in a 4-3-3 formation. So we have signed each of these players to play for Southampton in the English Premier Division to see if they can do better than Southampton did in real life. As we know, Southampton finished 20th place in real life, but we're going to see if our free agent team can help them to survive relegation. So now let's talk about each of the players. First, we have Ivan Arboleda. So Arboleda is a Colombian goalkeeper. So he has started off his career in Colombia, but he has played most of his career in Argentina for Bainfield. He did recently move to Spain, but he has since been released. And overall, Arboleda is a pretty solid all-around goalkeeper. At just 26 years old, he might get a little bit better. He will be the youngest player on our free agent team. But overall, he's a solid goalkeeper, not particularly outstanding at anything, but no real weaknesses in his game. Next up, we have Andre Almeida, the 31-year-old Portuguese player who spent his entire career at Benfica before being released. And again, another very solid player. He does lack a bit physically, particularly in pace. Just 10 as an outside back can be a little bit tough. But if you are looking for a short-term signing to fill a gap in your team, he has excellent mentals and he's pretty solid technically. And he might just be just good enough physically to be able to play at this level. After that, moving into our center backs, we have Ragnar Klavan, who I actually think is a very decent player. He is 36 years old and is one of Estonia's best all-time players. But honestly, even at 36, this is an excellent player. If you are looking to bring in an experienced center back in the Premier League, I think Klavan is a fantastic signing. Overall, his physicals are still very good. A bit weak in the acceleration, but at 13 pace and 14 jumping reach and 14 strength, he isn't going to go down too badly considering that natural fitness is very high. He has an excellent personality, pretty good mentals, and overall decent technicals. At 36, I think Klavan is an excellent signing, especially on a free, for any lower mid-table to mid-table English Premier League side. After that, we have Matteo Musacchio, a 31-year-old Argentinian. So he has spent his career playing across Spain and Italy. He was just released by Lazio after not playing too much. And again, I think another very solid player. He's hit a pretty decent personality, being a perfectionist. He has very good physicals, very good mentals, and very good technicals. At 31 years old, he is definitely one who could play for multiple years at a high level still. Next up, we have Tonio, the left back. He is a solid left back. I wouldn't say he's particularly amazing, but I also don't think he has any notable weaknesses. Decent dribbling and crossing means he's pretty good going forward, but also okay tackling. Positioning maybe could be worked on, but good off the ball, solid work rate, and excellent pace and acceleration means that he can get up and down the left side very well. And again, overall, this is just a solid player. Next up in defensive mid, we have Recchio. So he can play defensive mid or he can play in center mid. Overall, this is a 31-year-old Spaniard with good technicals, good mentals. However, his weaknesses are going to be in the physicals. So he's one to sign, but maybe not on a long-term contract, especially at this level. With 10 pace, 10 jumping reach, I don't think at 31 years old he's going to be getting any faster or stronger. So again, this is a decent player, but maybe given his physicals, he's more of a short-term signing. Next up, moving into the center midfield, I think this is the best player, is Isco. Fantastic technically and mentally, although his physicals have gone down massively since he came into the game. At 30 years old, and a player who has excellent experience playing for Real Madrid, winning Champions League titles, I think he's a really good player. He can play pretty much all across the midfield and attacking midfield. If you wanted to play as an enganche, someone maybe to even bring on late into the games, and just have someone with excellent vision, technique, and passing who can pick apart a defense, I think this is your guy. If you can afford his wages, I think Isco is worth a punt. Next up, we have Victor Sanchez. I'm going to be honest, looking at Victor Sanchez's attributes, he's okay. 34-year-old Spaniard. He's kind of bounced around Spain, then he went to Australia, then back to Spain, but now he's a free agent. And overall, he's got very good mentals, but his physicals are meh and his technicals are meh. But the reason I've included him in here is because he can play just about every position on the field. And if you're looking for a short-term contract and you just need someone who can play every position you've got, I think Victor Sanchez is definitely a player who you can be confident in being able to maybe come off the bench or being able to start the odd game, just playing any position you need him to. And finally, we move into our forward line. Let's start off with Sammy Amiobi, the 30-year-old Nigerian who actually played with his, I believe, older brother at Newcastle and has bounced around England. And overall, he's a solid player, but I think maybe he's better off playing at a championship level. But as someone who can play on the outside, decent dribbling and crossing, physicals aren't spectacular, but are solid enough. Honestly, I think at championship level, he could do very well. I don't quite know if this is a player who can make the step up to the English Premier Division, but overall, he's quite solid. After that, we have Diego Perotti, the 33-year-old Argentinian who's pretty much bounced around all over Europe. He played Argentina, then Spain, then moved to Italy, then Turkey, back to Italy, and of course now we have him in England. And overall, really good technical player, excellent crossing, excellent dribbling, good first touch, passing, penalty taking technique, very good mentals. He's definitely an unpredictable player with that fantastic flair. At 33 years old, the issue with him is of course going to be those physicals. 10 pace, 8 natural fitness, 10 strength, not so great stamina. So if you're looking for a free agent who can maybe play at a high level, maybe you want to bring him on the bench again to unlock the defense, I think this is your player, but I don't know if I'd rely on him. Maybe at the championship level, he's a player who could still contribute very well. But I'm not sure at the English Premier Division level if he's one who could start in, week out. I'd consider maybe even retraining him as an attacking center mid, because I think, again, he could maybe play that enganche role very well. Maybe he just doesn't quite have the pace anymore to play on the wings. And finally, along with Clavin, the player who I think is going to be the best for this experiment is going to be Max Kruse, the 34-year-old German. He pretty much spent his whole career in the Bundesliga, minus a stint at Fenerbahce. And overall, really decent player even at 34. I probably would play him up top as an advanced forward. Pace is still decent, but good off the ball, good composure, good finishing and first touch, fantastic penalty taker. Max Kruse is a very solid player, and if you're looking for a striker in your game, I think he's one to sign. So those are the 11 free agents, or at least the 11 best free agents I think are in the game. But you're probably looking at me thinking, this is Football Manager 2023. There's one free agent still in the game who you've missed, and how could you not include him? Well, let me show you why I have not included Gareth Bale in the best free agents list, because honestly, even at this rate, this is still an absolutely fantastic player. But if we go to his information, he is counting down the days to his retirement, and he plans to retire January 9th, 2023. So since he is retiring halfway through the season, I have decided not to include Gareth Bale in the best free agent 11 squad. But I mean, if you're only looking for a player until January, then absolutely include him. With that in mind, Southampton, we will see if they will stay up with this free agent side. I'm just going to simulate one season since most of these players are pretty old. And if you're signing them, at least most of them, you're probably just looking for a 1 season or 2 season stopgap. So let's go forward to June 2023 and see how our free agents did. See you in 1 season. Welcome back. And 1 season later, our free agent side has actually stayed up finishing 17th in the English Premier Division, just barely staying up, but they still stayed up. Let's take a look at Southampton's schedule to actually see how they stayed up. Well, I'm actually the manager of Southampton, so let me just go straight to schedule. And looking at the squad, oh, they didn't have a very good season. I guess finishing on 34 points means they didn't do very well. I'm sure they relied on subs from the rest of them to get there, but a horrible April and May definitely cemented them into the relegation battle. But you know what? The free agent side stayed up, and I think that is fantastic. Let's check out some of the top performers in the squad. So our starting 11 is still our starting 11. Let's just look through. I'll look through the squad here, look at some of the top performers, and recommend some signings to you all for who I think performed the best. So starting off with Ivan Arboleda, he played all 38 matches in the English Premier Division, 6.88 overall rating, which I think shows his kind of just solidity overall. And again, he got a little bit better throughout the season. I think if you need a goalkeeper and you're not sure who to sign, Arboleda is a decent stopgap and a solid player who would play decently well at this level. And if you're looking at a championship level, I think he would play at a high level there. Another player who I thought did solidly was Ragnar Klavan, and we can see even with another season at 37, his physicals I think are still good enough to play at this level. As far as how he did, a 6.66 overall rating, maybe not as good as I thought, but at his age to still be able to play 40 appearances and not get injured, I think is absolutely fantastic. Klavan is still a player who can do it at this level. With a resolute personality, you can bring him in for mentoring purposes. I think Klavan did fantastically well this season, despite maybe the not great average rating, but I still think he is a good player to look at signing. Next up, we have Matteo Musacchio. Again, a 6.66 overall rating. I'm wondering if just maybe the entire defense didn't play so well. But again, another player if you're just looking to bring in a decently good player. He has a perfectionist personality, so again, he might be one you'd use towards mentoring. And a player who is able to play 42 games. So if you are looking to someone who is going to be available for your team as a free agent, Musacchio is your guy. Next up, we have Tonio, our left back, 6.78 overall rating. I think that is very solid. He only got a little bit worse throughout the season, but again, another player who managed to play 37 games in the English Premier Division, 42 games overall. A player who's relatively available and who I think had a relatively solid season. He's worth a shot. Isco is a player who I believe showed in this season that he still has it. 6.73 average rating. Only the 2 goals, but I think 7 assists is pretty solid in the league. Just the 2 goals, but again, 7 assists, 8 assists, and 4 goals, 4 goals overall. Honestly, I think Isco played right well. I was even playing him from a center mid position, so if he was higher up the pitch, I think he would have done even better. One season in, I don't think his physicals get all that much worse. I didn't even do any extra training for him, so maybe if you wanted to train his agility and balance, that would also help out quite a bit for him. But I think he showed that his technicals and mentals are still good enough to play at this level. So if you can afford him and you need someone to play those positions, I think Isco proved that he can do an excellent job. And finally, the player who I think was the most outstanding in this simulation was Max Kruse. He definitely gets a lot worse physically at this point, so I think if you're looking at signing him, maybe just 1 to 2 seasons. But looking at his stats, 14 goals, 5 assists, 4 Player of the Match awards. And only 2 of them were pens. He played 42 matches, so he was able to play most games. But 14 league goals, someone who can score double-digit goals in the English Premier Division. Max Kruse, I think if you need one free agent who is worth signing from this squad, Max Kruse is your man. Well, that's it. I think those were the best performers for our free agent 11 side. I think probably the 2 best players are going to be Ivan Arboleda, actually Isco, and Max Kruse. So those would be my 3 recommendations from this free agent side. But I think this was a pretty interesting experiment. And if at this point you are in a Football Manager 2023 save, you're starting off and you need some free agents to fill out your squad, Probably any of these players will be good depending on the level you're playing at, but Cruza, Isco, and Arboleda are kind of my generic, kind of for every team solutions. Well, that's it. A short experiment today, but I hope that you have enjoyed the experiment. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Again, I hope you all are having a wonderful week, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye.